Hi,
Hello. Can you
how
hear
are
me okay?
you?
Good. How are you?
I am all right. Are you getting perchance like any sort of feedback or like an echo?
No, I don't hear anything.
Okay, good. Yay. Okay, great. Let me grab my sketchbook here.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. I have my little sketchbook here.
Yay. I'm gonna just warn you in advance. I make really bizarre faces when I draw.
It's okay. I don't even know really what I look like when I draw, to be honest. I probably look like weirdly serious.
I, I've caught myself making some genuinely bizarre faces, just like my face is the liquefy feature.
I know what you mean. That's like when I'm playing the viola. Like I recorded myself playing the viola for like cover songs and stuff, and I'm like, why do I look so angry? Like
Yeah, no,
I'm
as a
concentrating.
violinist, I get it.
Exactly.
We sharpen this little dude right here.
Do you know which character you want to draw?
Okay, so and I've been thinking about this for like a couple days now. Do I want
Mm,
to draw, you know, a character from a favorite book, or do I want to draw like a character? Because really, my favorite character is probably Manu, but no one knows who she is yet.
I mean, I know I saw your like announcement on your Instagram, which congratulations, by the way. That's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, it is going to be an intense couple years.
Yeah, I mean, and especially because it's a graphic novel, right?
hmm
So
hmm
that's like I can't even like wrap my head around like I make one drawing and I'm like, okay, but like with comics and graphic novels, it's like every panel is like whole thing and I can't even like seriously. It's like I don't know how
Well,
you do
I have like I I get it. Like I am right there with you. And what's so funny is like when I was doing it as a web comic, I probably had maybe about, eight standard pages worth of panels
it.
per episode. And it would take me all month or maybe like a month and a half
Yeah.
just to get it done. Now, granted, I had a day job at the
Mm.
time and there were other things happening in my life, but yeah, I'm like, so 220 pages
And
and I've
even
got a year and a half.
I
So,
really give like props to you and like anyone who does like web comics because it's so like it's just so baffling to me because it's like each panel will look so good, but like you're reading it and you read it so quickly and you're just and it's like I want to appreciate the art, but also like if the story is good, then like I'm going through it quickly and I'm just it's
I
yeah.
know.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
At some point, I mean, my biggest hurdle is really going to be releasing the perfectionism and
Oh my God. Yeah.
trusting.
I know that
Yeah.
feeling. It's like you just like hate like everything you do, or it's just I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome is real. Although gosh, my sister sent me this amazing commencement speech actually I'm forgetting who it was who delivered it, but it was fascinating. It was delivered to like one of the all women's colleges, and the speaker was like telling this story about how when women were starting to ride bikes, they literally made up a syndrome called like bike face
Oh
syndrome
no.
to discourage women from riding bikes.
Oh my God.
And they were like, you may suffer from like a very grave face or whatever the case. And
I want to say
so,
the resting bike face.
yeah, resting bike face.
Oh,
And so the, uh, yeah, the person delivering the speech was like, I would like to argue that imposter syndrome is our modern day resting or bike face or whatever,
yeah.
this idea that somehow, we don't belong in certain spaces and that we're not good enough, that there's something about us that is just other or,
Yeah.
you
Or
know,
you just don't. like even doing this, I'm like thinking to myself, like who am I to like talk to people or like even like you know what I mean? Like you get this feeling like, oh, I don't belong. Like I should just stick to what I know. I shouldn't try anything new. Like, you know, I
Hmm.
shouldn't because then it almost feels like an identity thing. You're like, but this isn't like person who I am, and like this it's you know, like or I'm not the kind of person who does these things, but you want to, and so it's like, you know, you have to it's a whole thing. Yeah, I totally
Yeah.
get what you
No, yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and that's why, like, there are people sometimes who come into my DMs with, you know, the "I wish" phrase, like, "I wish I could draw," or "I wish I could do this," and it's hard to impart on someone who is locked inside their, the torture chamber between the ears,
That's a good way of putting it.
um, to imagine themselves doing the thing that they really wanted to do. And it's something that I grapple with right now. It's like, how do I have a graphic novel coming out in 2025? This is someone else's life, not mine.
Especially if you're so used to like being a fan of certain things, then it's like I don't know, it's like it's hard to like imagine yourself in those spaces because it just doesn't it feels so foreign and like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's and I think it's also like that imposter syndrome where you feel like, am I being like arrogant or am I being like by
Mm-hmm.
assuming that I could do this thing? And you know, it's um yeah,
Well, and that's another thing that we're taught to kind of do, right? We're not allowed to step into our, fullest expression of our abilities and whatnot, lest we come across as like, abrasive or
yeah,
bitchy. I'm allowed to use that word.
yeah. Or
um,
like I don't know, like sometimes like I like to take photos I like to do photo shoots and like dress up and stuff. And sometimes I
ooh,
get a bit like self-conscious like oh do people think I'm being like vain or like I don't know obnoxious or whatever but I'm like I don't know I just like it. I just like to dress up and take photos and I don't know that's so yeah it's hard to get over that sometimes and just like enjoy what you're doing, you know.
totally. Well, and like, I think, like, I've heard of this phrase called, like, was it high poppy syndrome? Or
I've heard
it's
of that.
it's I think it's a saying from Australia,
Mm.
but it's this idea that if one poppy rises above the rest, the other poppies will essentially like try and like cut it
Yeah,
down.
yeah,
um,
I can see where that's going. Yeah.
and it's it's certainly something that we in creative industries actively fight against, right? We When we are able to lift up all of our fellow artists, we as an industry, flourish.
Yeah, instead of
Um,
seeing them as like competition or like I don't know if you've ever struggled with this, but like I know like especially in terms of like books and like writing and stuff, because like I've had interest in writing as well, but sometimes it feels like, oh, there's already so many good books out there. Is there any room for me? Like, is there any room left at every, you know, it's like everyone's already done everything. Like, why would, you know, and so that can be hard too, feeling like there's even a space for you.
I Yeah. I It's all stuff that has entered my head. Like, the things that are coming out of your mouth have lived in my brain.
It's
I totally I'm with you. So, well, if I'm allowed to, I'm going to go ahead and draw Manu
yeah,
today.
yeah, that'd
Um
be amazing.
just because she's a fashionable lady.
You want to
And
like talk a bit about her and her story and everything? Because I was gonna ask you about that anyway. So like, you want to talk a bit
sure.
about her?
Um okay, this is going to use two parts of my brain that I don't often use together. I don't often talk and draw at the same time. So if I start like getting hard to
Okay,
understand, just let me know.
you're good.
Um, but yes, so basically, Manu is an urban fantasy,
Mm,
uh, sort of loosely based off of my my family. what it was like growing up in New York,
Yeah.
around, well, sort of, religious conservatism,
Mm.
and 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 it's also, it incorporates a lot of the Puerto Rican spiritualism.
Oh wow, that sounds really interesting. Like yeah, sorry, it just
Yeah, yeah,
it reminded me a little bit of Cemetery Boys. That's great.
yeah, not unlike that. Yeah,
I didn't
she is a medium.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. She's not she can't see ghosts and stuff. Um,
yes, she can. Well, so she can see spirits, she can see aura, and she has like some baseline clairvoyance, but her biggest thing is that she can channel spiritual energy and is therefore able to do some pretty interesting like psychokinetic things.
that's cool.
But it's a gift that she had when she was a child,
Mm.
and they essentially closed her third eye because
Oh.
someone who is capable of wielding that much spiritual energy can, under the wrong influence, be a channel for bad things. uh,
Oh,
but
I see.
it's on her grandmother's deathbed that she learns the truth about um, who she really is and what her abilities are, especially because now she must awaken her gift. She's always been
Mhm.
uh, sort of kept from her truth
Yeah,
in
so someone
multiple
kind of like
ways.
took that choice away from her before she even like knew that she like had the option. Like,
Exactly. And so, she grapples a lot with, well, her day job is she's a music producer. It's sort of an offshoot of her abilities. Like the way it continues to sort of leak out of her is her ability to generate music that resonates with the masses. And so she's very, very successful as a producer,
that makes sense.
albeit still afraid to sort of use her own voice to be the one, in front of the microphone.
But yeah, I like that metaphor that she's like now she has to use her voice instead of kind of amplifying other people's.
Exactly. Exactly. And so she gets sucked into the mysterious um sort of like crime spree happening in the neighborhoods where she grew up.
Mhm.
Um based sort of loosely on actual historical events from the 1970s, in which people were burning down apartment buildings in New York City to collect the fire insurance and
Oh my
displacing a lot
God.
of the sort of lower income houses.
Oh my
Um,
God.
so
Didn't even know about that.
yeah, well, and that's what I'm trying to do with all the books that I'm working on, is to tell sort of the untold history about New York, about Puerto Ricans, about queer
Yeah.
Puerto Ricans.
Yeah. I know I saw you were working on the other one when the tides held the moon, right?
Yes, yes, that one.
I
Oh,
swear I saw because like I was looking at your Instagram yesterday and like I'd seen you talk about the story before and I'd seen like the pictures of I think Benny and everything
Benny
and
and
I'm like
Rio.
but then I looked further into it and I'm like wait a minute, I remember this as the Simon Snow story and I was like wait, did I read that? Like I couldn't remember if I had read it or not.
You
But
did.
I
It has.
feel like I have. I know I read it. I feel like I've read at least one story where one of them is a mer creature. But like that's amazing.
Well, and the reason why it disappeared
Yeah.
is because things are moving on that front as well.
Yeah, but that's so cool though. I know that feeling when like you like I feel like I've seen a lot of like fan fictions where I'm like, wow, this could just be a story. Like this could just be an original story, like and not in a bad way, but it's just like I don't know, it's like you read it and you're like, this is incredible. And like if they just
Oh,
kind of, I don't know, not just change the name because they're like, you know, you make it your own. Um,
Right.
but like, but yeah, I've seen stories like that, and it's always so cool to see how talented people are in that space.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I am I'm especially excited about Tides
yeah,
because I don't know, I'm like, God, what am I allowed to say about Tides?
yeah.
I
I don't, you know, if
know,
you say something by accident, I can always cut it out. It's okay.
okay, yes. So the amazing thing that's happening with Tides is that because I pushed for it to be an illustrated work, an illustrated
Okay,
prose
that's
book,
cool.
which is is rare nowadays, unless it's like manhwa or you
Yeah.
know other overseas light novels. Um, but the publisher who has picked it up is like committed to realizing this vision of an illustrated adult uh, genre novel, and it's just an absolute flipping dream come true.
That's
Um,
so cool. And that's so nice to be able to work with someone who like really actually cares about what you want to do,
my God,
you
it's
know?
just yeah. I have nothing but like amazing things to report about this particular publisher, and I just feel incredibly like just it's yes, I feel blessed.
Yeah,
I was like,
that's
dude, like,
amazing.
is it luck? Yes, it is luck, but it is also just like the right people coming into your life at the right time
No,
is
I heard this quote. I think it was in like another interview where someone said, and I still think about it. Someone said, "Oh, I'm gonna get it wrong." It was like, "Pray that you catch the bus, but run as fast as you can," or something like that. Where it's
ooh,
like
I
there
like
is
that.
like there is luck involved, but also you have to like put in the work as well,
Yeah.
and like and then like those things will kind of come to you, and that you can't, you know, like you can't just kind of sit and do nothing and hope that something's gonna fall into your lap, kind of thing.
I think that's a good perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Like
I think about that a lot. I'm like, you know, I'm like I do have to like put in the work and like and you know, and then also hope that you get lucky along the way. Like,
yes. I think that's a really good way of looking at it. That
I've started,
alchemy of timing and good people and just
yeah,
effort.
exactly. Also, I have started and restarted this drawing like 7 times. I can't get it right. I'm trying to draw Henry, um, from Red, White, and Royal Blue, because he's like my favorite. He's my favorite fictional character at the moment. Um,
Say that again. What is his name?
Henry from,
Oh yeah, Henry
yeah,
from Red, White, and Royal Blue.
yeah.
Yay!
So he's like my comfort character right now. And I'm trying to draw him, but I can't get his proportions right.
Oh
But
gosh. Well, it's funny because and one of the reasons why I was like, let me stay away from red, white, and royal blue for this particular exercise is
yeah.
because uh, I now have a lot of Henry and Alex's that live in my brain.
Mhm.
There's
I imagine so, because you've done a lot of work with them, and I love it so much. I like brought them out to show so that if anyone didn't know who's watching, they can see your amazing art that I got a while ago.
thank
Um,
you.
but yeah, especially this. I don't know how you did that. That's incredible.
Oh my God, it took so long.
That's like insane to me. I'm like, I can't even imagine.
I mean, it was, but doing that kind of stuff is also super fun in just in terms of like, okay, here's a thing I've literally never done before. I've never done a photorealistic rendering of an actual landmark. And I had the benefit, obviously, of living in DC and being able to go right to the White House and being like, click.
Yeah, that is a plus. Yeah.
But I was operating off of some of the absolute cruddiest photographs of Kensington Palace.
Oh, that sucks. It really sucks when the reference photo isn't good. And you just kind of have
Yeah.
to make things up sometimes. But I guess with that, you really can't. Um,
Yeah, it's hard when your reference is crud. Um,
yeah, I even brought up like a reference of Henry in the promotional image so I could get his outfit right. Because I'm like, what is he wearing? I don't like. And speaking of outfit, I wanted to ask you, was the blue hoodie thing, was that a coincidence or was he wearing that in the book? I can't remember.
I can't, you know what? I need to solve this for myself now. Hold on a
Yeah,
second.
because I'm like, wait a minute. Like,
All right, hold on. We're gonna answer this question because
okay.
when I saw it and people started tagging me on it, I was genuinely like, "What?"
Yeah, because like that thing will happen where like I will absolutely love a book and it'll be like my favorite thing ever. And if you ask me like what happens in it, I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I can't remember any of the details, but I just know that I loved it.
Well, like, um, I like when it comes to like the fan art and its genesis over the years, where like the character designs are concerned, or like like even just the treatment like of my artwork, because well, okay, so here's a question: when do you anticipate sharing this video of you and me?
Um, it could be within probably the next week, but if you want me to wait, I could do that as well.
Okay, that well,
Yeah.
no, that will change what I'm about to
Okay.
say. Um, but okay, well, even just changing the character designs from what I had in my head to what Casey had in their head.
Mhm.
This idea of you know a floppier haired um swimmer's build um for Henry was easy enough to sort of like integrate,
Mhm.
but like I was not prepared for like no, he has really full lips,
Mhm.
and I was like, really?
Yeah,
Because
like
my brain goes to like the current princes of England,
yeah. Or
and
it's
so I
just
was
like
like,
the picture of them that you have in your head sometimes can be so clear that like when
yeah,
someone else tells you how they picture them, you're like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah.
yeah, and it was super interesting to get you know like Casey's canon
Yeah.
insights into to Henry and Alex, and I found it also interesting that the version of Alex that Casey imagines is very much an Oscar Isaac
Oh,
build,
really? Oh, that's cool.
sort of like stockier and obviously shorter. Um,
Yeah.
but I was
Yeah.
like, oh, dude, so when you were saying Ho Dameron, you really meant it.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's true. And it's funny because like I pictured Alex as I feel like he was definitely influenced by your illustrations. So now when I picture him, he looks more like your drawings. But also there's a character, I don't know if you've ever seen Young Royals on
Yeah, yeah,
Netflix.
yeah. Is it
I Yeah,
Wilhelm or Simon?
but Will and Simon, yeah. So I
Yeah, yeah.
picture him a little more like Simon, like older, but more kind of boyish and like I don't know, I feel like um the actor who's playing him, like I love that. I'm so excited to see that. But when I first saw him, I'm like, oh, but he's so like muscular, and I'm like, oh, that's not how I pictured him. Like, you know. Um, but
Oh
yeah,
my
but I
God.
think it's gonna be great though.
I have, I have a lot of faith in the folks who are putting the movie together
Mm,
because, of the limited things I can say about the people who are working on the film. Um,
yeah,
they are, I think, universally fans of the book. Like before there was, before there were talks probably of even making this into a movie, they were all reading the book and loving the book, which is,
I mean that's all you can hope for, really, is like with an adaptation, is that people are passionate about the
yeah,
source material. Because I think that comes through, or at least you hope it comes through in the finished product.
Exactly. Well, and I also, I appreciate what Matthew Lopez said about like this, this is an adaptation, not a recitation, which it
Mhm.
couldn't be a recitation, right?
Yeah,
You can possibly,
it would
uh,
take forever.
yeah.
I literally, when I finished reading the book for the first time, I was like, this has to be made into a Netflix limited series because I want every
Every
single
single
line
detail.
to be in there. And like, obviously, I'm grateful for the movie, but after I read it, I was like, no, I want all the dialogue to be recreated.
Okay. Oh, I found it. All right. Here we go.
Oh, you found it. Okay.
All right. Interesting. All right. Sneaking out of the palace without security at 2 a.m. was surprisingly Henry's idea. He
Mm,
pulls hoodies and hats out for both of them. The
okay.
incognito uniform of the internationally recognizable, and B staged a noisy exit from the opposite end of the palace while they sprinted through the gardens.
So
There
he is
is,
wearing a hoodie.
we know it's a hoodie. We do not know what color it is.
No, that's interesting.
Huh.
Mm,
I mean, gosh, if I if I spend too long thinking about it, like
yeah.
I'll freak myself out. But it would be amazing to think that they had seen my artwork
Yeah.
or anybody's fan arts in the fandom and
Mm.
thought, you know, this is inspiration.
Yeah, that would be incredible. But still, even if not, it's still cool to see the two
Yes.
like pictures next to each other. Um,
All
but
right.
okay. Let me see before I forget other things I wanted to talk to you about. So yeah, so I was curious, like what your like what your process is, like what kind of like tools you use, like if you use like Procreate or like Photoshop, because I'm not as familiar with like digital art these days, so I'm curious how that works.
Well, yeah, I for the sake of expediency, I've been doing primarily digital for a while now, just for like work related things and fan arts and whatnot. And more I rely on Procreate more than I do Photoshop, just because Procreate has made all of the bells and whistles very easy to find and access, and I find that I don't have to like um struggle with my computer's processing time.
I know I
to
had an old laptop that would just have a meltdown if I tried to do anything complicated on it.
Yeah. Well, I recently had to just upgrade my entire um like my entire hardware suite in my studio, just because if I'm regrettably, when it comes to doing the graphic novel, Procreate will will be useful for if I'm having to do stuff on the road or what have you, but I need to be able to create panels as shapes and
Yeah.
maneuver them around and stuff like that. um but uh but yeah, as far as the pro tools I use, I try to keep it simple and not go to um I'm like working on tiny details right now and my brain is shorting. I'm just going to pause.
It's okay.
um yeah, I'll just oftentimes I'll start with the sketch on paper,
Mm,
photograph it, and then do the line art over it in Procreate or in Photoshop, and then from there flats
yeah.
and and then detail work. And um it's nice having uh that process for my clients, especially because then they get to see every step of the way. They can
Mhm.
comment, nip, tuck, do whatever they need to do, and then we don't wind up with the horror of presenting a finished picture and having them be like, yeah, but I kind of wish that
Yeah. You're
he
like,
was
no,
facing
it's
the
too
other
late for that now.
direction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's good that there's like kind of a lot of time in between where you can show them the sketch and be like, do you like this? And there's time to change it in between.
exactly. exactly.
We only have about 10 minutes left before Zoom kicks me off because they don't have the premium version.
Oh, alas. Okay, so if that's the case, then I need to finish at least putting a face on this person.
I know I need to start outlining Henry. And I'm just doing like a little doodle here and it's like still taking me forever. Like,
Well, we are also multitasking,
um,
so we can give ourselves a little bit of grace.
yeah. Let me see. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to ask you about was like how did you get your start in illustrating? Like, were you always into art, or is it like something more recent?
Good question. I It was something that I've done, like I always have been drawing since I was a kid. The advent of like making it my career or like even putting it out there publicly didn't happen until I was like out of college. And
Oh
even
wow.
then, um like my first real job out of grad school was as you know, I was working in recruiting and retention for the National Guard Bureau, Air National Guard.
Oh, wow.
And you know, finally somebody looked at my resume basically and was like, "Oh, so you have film behind, you know, under your belt. You know, you have all these, you know, creative things. You should be, you know, we should be making you a producer." So they made me a producer, and so I started, you know, and this probably is where the comic stuff really got its foundation. I was storyboarding commercials
Oh wow, that's cool.
and having to do an awful lot of traveling and looking at aircraft and, and stuff like that. Eventually, I shifted out of that office. You know, obviously, as the war fight died down, the need was not to ramp up our numbers, but rather to serve, you know, service members and their families after they've reintegrated from the war. And so I was then doing, you know, like internal marketing campaigns and occasionally drawing logos, and so it became much more of a sort of like graphic design type job.
Yeah.
And then I had a kid. I left the guard bureau. I started working for the General Services Administration as their multimedia person, which is literally just a term for, oh, we're going to throw all of our audio visual whatever at you.
Yeah, this is just your general, you do
Right.
all this. Yeah.
And so my illustrating became part of that work. And then
Okay.
as that was going on, I started, you know, I started reading more books. I needed some sort of creative outlet that was not government related.
Yeah.
And, you know, my first fan art in like 15 years was Simon Snow fan art.
Oh my God. Yes, wait, before I forget.
Oh, very nice.
I
I did see that. I was like, oh, I
yeah.
recognize that logo.
Yeah, I love Simon and Baz. They're also some of my favorites.
Oh, yeah, I owe quite a bit to that particular fandom where um we're sort of like getting me enthusiastic about book art.
Yeah. Is that like what was like some of the first like fan art that you did?
My first fan art for virtually any fandom is, you know, um it's usually just, you know, the protagonist just like just testing out a character design and how I see them and whatnot. For Red, White, and Royal Blue, that was the cake scene.
I love that
Um,
scene.
and it's interesting because, all right, well, anyway, there is another collector's edition coming,
Okay.
and I had to essentially touch up all of my old artwork
Yeah,
for it.
because I brought that here too to show
Oh,
people
yay!
because I love it so much. And I want other people to see. Here it is.
Oh,
It's so
that
good.
makes me so happy. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Um, but yeah, that's so cool. I think I might be done with Henry. It's just really simple. Um, and I've been like working this whole time and it's just this little doodle. But I like changed the I was gonna do like a full body thing and then I'm like, no, I'll just do his from the waist up.
Oh my gosh. I should have like that's what I should have done. I should have oh, what's it called? Aimed for a shorthand of Manu.
I mean like that's kind of how I draw anyway. I'm just like I usually keep things very simple, which again is like why I'm like so impressed by your work. And another that's another question I forgot to ask is like how you do like backgrounds and like settings because I still don't know how to do that. Like I've been doing art for almost my whole life and I still do not understand backgrounds.
That's a good question. Um I it's literally me forcing myself to do things that make me uncomfortable because I'm not like I'm uncomfortable with
Yeah.
backgrounds and I'm
Yeah.
uncomfortable with perspective. I'm like these are things that like I I only ever started drawing colored digital artwork because I was terrified of it and I knew that I wasn't that I needed to figure it out. And so a lot of my artwork has backgrounds in it out
Yeah,
of
you would
my
never know. I would never guess that you were like uncomfortable with it or scared of it because like you just do it so well.
oh my god, that makes me supremely happy because I struggle like anybody
Yeah,
else. But
you hide that very well. I never would have guessed that you were just like you struggle with it. Like
well,
that's
but at the very least, hopefully, it's a way of demonstrating that you too can, I guess, have like an Achilles heel and overcome it. It
yeah,
feels it. I do feel stronger every time I draw an environment, but the basically what it's teaching me is to trust the process because if I start out with an empty room, like I just did a commission for a period like a historical um what we call historical romance in which it was a magic shop like
mm,
and
I
it's
love that.
intricately detailed description in the book but not enough to like literally give me stage directions on how to
Yeah,
like populate the space. And so I start with this empty room and I'm like, oh my God,
it's
what am I gonna do with
intimidating
this?
when you're, and I can imagine like trying to fill up a space like that. You just essentially like empty shelves, and you're like, what do I put here? Because it's got to look like artfully cluttered, I imagine. Like,
Well, yeah, well, and that's where I feel like illustrators have a unique experience to fine artists in that, it's our job to also tell a story
mhm.
on, in the image. And so part of what I'm thinking of as I'm filling that particular space is what is a person who has spells in little, drawstring bags going to need at their disposal? Okay, so we're
Mhm.
going to need a place for her to like grab the bags,
Yeah,
maybe a spool of string here. There's going to be like a little catalog of like herbs and ingredients. I'm going to put that in there,
yeah,
and those things weren't described in the book. But if I were in that character's shoes, that's what I would want in my space.
yeah.
And
Uh,
yeah, and
Sorry.
that's the storytelling
The-
element. Hello.
okay, I'm sorry about that. Um, okay.
No worries.
I also just realized that I forgot that Henry has a little badge here, on his
Yes.
thing. I don't know what that is, but it's in the picture, and I forgot to include it, so I just put it in. Um, but yeah. Um, Sorry to
That
cut
is
you off earlier. I didn't want Zoom to cut you off either.
no. That is perfectly fine. Here, I'm gonna quickly get my at least some last details into this
Yeah.
picture just to have something finished to show.
And then if you want to, you can photograph the drawing, or I can take a screenshot, and then I will like post like sort of like I will like post them at the end of the video so people can see it in more detail and stuff.
Sure thing. All right, so let's go. She's got her little red ribbon on her wrist.
Mhm.
And then maybe what I'll do. She also wears a hoodie
Of course.
because
Yeah.
that's her like her nod to being a superhero is that she's got this little hoodie.
Oh, I love it. God, if I could, I would put all characters in like hoodies and sweatshirts at all times. Like they're just so, it makes them look so cozy. I'm just like, can y'all just dress comfy all the time? It makes them easier to draw as well.
Mm-hmm. There we go. And she has like these sort of ankle boots that she wears.
I love an ankle boot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that makes me wonder like if like doing like superhero comics, because their costumes can be really complicated, and you have to
Oh,
like draw that like every panel like.
well, and that way, well, you get around that, right? In by zooming in on certain portions, right? So it's
That's
like I think I'm going to save myself the trouble of drawing all of her entire like wardrobe or whatever
Yeah,
by
it's very
just
important that you
focusing
see
on
just
like
her eyes in this scene.
yeah, exactly. Like let's do a nice close up on her mouth.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we're gonna go like that. I forget that she's got a belt. This is like her official her her like daytime getup.
Mm. The like, I feel like characters usually have that like one kind of like iconic outfit, you know? So,
Mm-hmm.
like even if they wear other things, that like every time you see them in fan art, they're wearing like the same thing.
Yep. All right, so we're gonna give that. There we go. She also has lapels on her little blazer that she wears, and she wears it rolled up. Go.
Is this
This is
character like sorry.
no. Go ahead. You were saying
I would say, is this character like, is she like in college, or is she like a young adult, or
she's in her early 20s.
mm.
Um, she uh, she gained fame by posting her musical compositions on Me TV.
I love it. Yeah.
All right,
Um,
there we go.
I feel like I'm seeing more stories these days with oh, there she is. Oh my God, I love it.
This is like the super shorthand version of Manu.
But it's still so good. Like it's like
Oh,
you still managed to get so
you.
much detail, and like, oh my God.
I'll screen. How about I can take a better photo of this and like send it to you.
Okay.
Uh,
If that's not too much trouble, if that's
no,
okay.
not at all.
Okay.
Like I'll do that in like the next like couple minutes here after we're done. But yeah. So it's exciting. Hopefully
It
people will
is.
love her as much as I love her because she's
Yeah. And it's also good because I feel like it's rarer to see stories about young adults like mid-20s, early 30s. And I feel like I'm seeing more of that these days, but still it's like it's refreshing, especially as someone who is almost 30. I'm like, I don't know if I want to read about high school anymore. You know?
well, it's funny. It's so funny you should mention that because I'm finding myself less and less drawn to YA for that very reason. I'm like, you know what? Like
Yeah.
high school was stressful and there weren't
Yeah.
always nice people there.
I'm like,
And
I don't want to think about that time, and like uh
exactly.
it's not as relatable. I'm like, Like, is this what the teens are doing these days? I'm like, you know,
I know.
I don't even
Well, I'll
know.
read the historical stuff any day. Like, give me, like I just finished reading a set of graphic novels to my kids called Compass South and Knife's Edge,
Oh, okay.
and it takes place like late 1800s, and
Mm.
it's a set of twins, one boy, one girl, and they sort of like they're on this treasure hunt, and it's amazing. And I'm like, this is the YA I can get into right
I
now.
love a historical setting. I love like period dramas and like all that stuff. I will watch those and read, yeah, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
All
yeah,
right.
thank you so much for taking the time to do this with me.
This was
This has
super
been so
fun.
much fun.
Thank you
Um,
for inviting me.
no problem. I was like kind of nervous, but I think okay. But yeah, just thank you so much for taking the time. It really means a lot. And congratulations again on both your projects and
Thank
everything
you.
else that I'm sure you can't talk about right now.
I Yeah.
And yeah, I
Soon
look
though.
forward to seeing that in the future.
Thank you so much for having me. And as my friend Ilker says to me, happy art days. That's
Yes.
what I wish for you. Happy art
Oh
days.
gosh, I could use some of those. Thank
Yes.
you. Same to you. I guess I will see you on Instagram and I will let you know when the video's done and like when I'm gonna post it and everything.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Take care. Have a
Thank
great
you.
week. All
Bye.
right. Bye.
Bye.